Now, today I wanted to talk about why the Galaxy Note 10, is the perfect phone for everyday carry. And in general, smartphones are kind of the ultimate EDC tool, and over the past 15 years, have replaced a ton of things that we would normally be carrying with us. A lot of those items still exist as much better standalone items, but from the perspective of everyday carry, kind of the idea is you get the utility with you. Obviously, phones have a flashlight. It's really not a replacement for a dedicated flashlight. For most people, like I would never carry a flashlight in my everyday life. And obviously, it's decimated some industries like MP3 players. You're really not going to get a dedicated MP3 player and carry it around with you. Point and shoot cameras, in many ways, phones have replaced. Things like the Game Boy and Nintendo DS, like obviously there's a Switch, but for everyday carry, you got games on your phone. So obviously, as a modern smartphone, it does all those things and replaces all those standalone items for me. But there are some key things that this does better than other phones, convenience things that mean that my stress level's down about carrying other items. Really quick before I get into that, this is what it looks like. I mean, it's a gorgeous phone. It has very, very slim bezels. It has just like a little hole punch in the top. It's glass on both sides with aluminum rails. So let's get into some of the ways this is just a great phone. The first of those is the battery life. It has a big battery in it. It's like 4,300 milliamp hours. That's obviously driving a big, huge screen, but depending on how you manage it, you can get multiple days out of it, no problem. It charges really quickly, it has wireless charging. It's never really gonna be a problem. I think very little about carrying a charger with me, an extra battery with me. But if I am traveling somewhere, it offers, this is a Samsung exclusive thing, this maximum power saving mode, which actually changes the whole interface of the phone, limits the CPU speed, limits the brightness, does a bunch of things in order to get it to last for, I don't know, it says around 3 days. The next of those things it does really well is the camera. I'm a photographer and I care about image quality, and a lot of people do, I get that. But from an EDC perspective, the fact that it has 3 camera lenses on it, an ultra wide, wide, and telephoto, mean that you actually get the utility of all those different cameras. And of course, it is a really good looking camera. And in many cases for me, this phone has replaced this RX 100 point and shoot that I was carrying around pretty often. And to kind of show you what that looks like, this is the ultra wide that you can then zoom to the normal best lens and then go all the way to telephoto and beyond. I also wanted to talk in a little bit more depth about something called Samsung Pay. Phones are obviously making a big play to become our wallets. We're able to use them to get on and off transit, hail Ubers, sometimes get into our cars, and of course, make payments with things like Apple Pay, Google Pay. Samsung Pay takes this one step further because of a piece of hardware they have in Galaxy phones. So in most cases, Samsung Pay works just like Google Pay and Apple Pay. You see that little symbol and you just tap your phone and it issues the payment. But they actually have hardware that sends out a little magnetic pulse to the swiping card readers. So you can see I have a card set up here, and because of course Samsung is able to control things with their skin, they make it super easy to just pop it up like that and authenticate wherever. What this means is that your level of trusting your phone to issue payments for you should go up. Even though chip payments and things that support Apple and Google Pay are kind of the norm now, This just means that I don't feel like I am worried about ending up at a random gas station or something that is still swipe based. Now, this next thing is sort of an Android thing, and it is the first time I'm going to mention an accessory. But unlike an iPhone, this is USB-C on the bottom, which means that, same as my laptop and a ton of other products, MacBooks even, you can plug in a hub just like this one. And what that gets you is, in this case, HDMI, full-size SD, micro SD, a few more USB-C ports, some USB-A ports. A phone is a tiny computer, and this actually makes it feel like it. So then, my favorite part are the things that this actually does different from other phones, even other Samsung phones. The biggest of those, and the reason it's called a Note, is this, the Stylus. This is what I believe enables you to feel comfortable never carrying a little notepad with you. And it works so well if you have the screen turned off like this and you remove the pen. Then right on the black screen, you can start to scribble a note, and when you replace the pen, it saves it. And obviously you have this big screen if you're, connecting an SD card through your USB hub and transferring photos into Lightroom. The Stylus is going to be a much more precise tool for you to actually go and navigate the phone and edit photos with, in addition to, of course, just scribbling notes. With the Note 10, they actually added some more features to this. And so there are some ways you can navigate by pressing this little button on the Stylus and swiping around in the air while you hold down that button. The thing I use this for most is as a remote shutter. So I don't know if that means that it really replaces like a selfie stick, but if you're holding your phone out in front of you and you press the button on the pen, it will take a photo. Then let's say you're an app like the Gallery app. If I hold down this button and swipe like this, I can go in between photos. So one of the other things in my EDC kit are the Galaxy Buds wireless earbuds. These are also designed by Samsung, so they have great software support to work well with the Note. But the thing that the Note enables is called wireless power share, which enables you to wirelessly charge these on the back of the phone. So all you have to do is turn on wireless power share right here. It says ready to charge. And then you just set these on top of the phone and they start charging. So obviously this is cool because if you're out and about and these are dead, you can top them up with this. But also if you're traveling with only one USB-C cable with you, at night you can put this face down, put these on top, and in the morning they'll both be charged up. Then the final real thing I'll talk about brings back this USB-C hub to enable something called DeX. So Samsung DeX provides a way for you to turn your Galaxy phone into a full-blown desktop operating system. And there's even a special thing you can do with the Stylus. So in order to set it up, at its most basic level, you can plug a USB-C cord from the phone into a USB-C monitor. In my case, I'm going to take this hub and use it to get an HDMI signal out of the phone. So I have this long HDMI cord running to my TV. I'm just going to plug that in, and right away DeX should fire up. So now this desktop interface that you're seeing is my phone. All the same apps, all the same files, contacts, everything's logged in. And if you look here, I can actually use my phone completely distinctly from the desktop. So it's almost like I get the phone and a whole other computer. In order to interact with this at the most basic level, I can go and open this up to use my phone as the touchpad. And so now my finger has just turned into my mouse. I can go click here to open my apps. If I use two fingers, I can scroll on anything. And if I click something like the search bar, I have this keyboard come up where I can type just like this. And because Android is made to scale really well and work on all these different devices like tablets and Chrome OS desktops and laptops, when you open things, it won't just look like the phone. Now, this is definitely going to depend on the app's support for these bigger screen devices, but in something like Google Maps here, you can see I have this full dashboard on the left side here. It looks a lot more like you would expect out of a desktop operating system. And that special little trick that the Note has, if you take the Stylus, this will actually work more like a Wacom tablet. So when I hover the Stylus above the screen like this, it moves the cursor around, and then I just tap to click and drag and do whatever. I've kind of been using Lightroom as this go-to example where I can do these complicated edits on a much bigger, better screen, and I can open my adjustments and start to use the Stylus to play around with things. And of course, this is great if I need to do brush or spot corrections, little marks. I can just use the Stylus like a tablet to go just like that. And then because Android is so close to being a desktop interface as it is, if I take something like an SD card and plug it into this same hub, so now I can take something like the Files app, and I'm actually just going to drag this to my home screen. And if I open this, and I can open USB storage, navigate through this whole menu here to open these photos. And then I can go and add it to Lightroom. So of course, this is how you might be willing to use this while you're traveling. Maybe you have that hotel room with an HDMI cable. Maybe you are at another business's office and you have access to a monitor, something like that. But if you have more access to peripherals, this could get even more like a desktop. So I'm just gonna put the S Pen away, and you can connect a keyboard and mouse to your phone with Bluetooth, but I'm just gonna take these two USB dongles and plug them into the same hub that we're using for everything else. I can use my keyboard and mouse exactly like I would expect. I can open Chrome. I can pull up my desktop site, and it behaves and looks exactly like I would expect it to on a desktop. Typing works, you know, I think even volume controls are working. Right here I have all my notifications. I have my control panel where I can change my Wi-Fi and everything else. And then just like Android, you have your multitasking. So here I can open up all these programs that I've been using, change back to maps. And because you can do a split screen really easily, drag maps onto one side, just like you maybe would with Windows. And then I can pull up a program like, let's open OneNote and pretend we're gonna like take notes on some places we're thinking about going. This is just such a cool utility that it's hard to like really name core use cases, but it's come up for me in all these weird ways. And I think it's at that point where you could almost argue buying some cheap peripherals and a Galaxy phone to like be your computer. So obviously this runs Android with Samsung's skin on top, which is actually really useful. And there's a ton of Samsung specific features that Android doesn't even have yet. So one of those I've been using throughout, it is the screen recorder. For instance, I can turn on my selfie here. So I do this all the time for Instagram stories. If I want to be talking and using the phone with the stylus, I can do that. I can activate this cursor here, and then I can also turn on the writing mode so I can circle something like that. So using all of this, it means that you can just make obviously beautiful Instagram stories, but if you need to show a friend how to do something, or you just want to be able to talk and mark something up to send it to a colleague, this is an incredible little tool.
There's a fingerprint reader underneath the screen, and in case you're wearing gloves, there's also a face scanner. You can open apps in split screen or resizable windows. There's a micro SD card slot to add more storage. It's one of the only phones with a dual aperture camera. It's IP68 water resistant. You can reprogram all the buttons to other functions like opening apps or turning on the flashlight. You can access the depth sensor for true night vision.
All around, I'd recommend this phone. And this is talking about a lot of the things that I think are specific to EDC and how this is basically like the most powerful urban EDC multi-tool you could possibly get. But it's just a good phone too. And there's a bunch of other reviewers who will talk about more of its normal features from their perspective. I did find the cheapest price I could on it and put that in a link in the description if you want to check it out. The subreddit is also really active for this with a bunch of other power users who are making the most of these features. I hope this is going to be a 5-year phone for me, and I'm almost entirely sure my next will be whatever Note is available in 2025. Thank you so much for watching. Next week, I have a video coming out about why you might want to pick up some of these Apple boxes, even if you're not a filmmaker. So if you're not already, get subscribed to get notified when that comes out, or click it in the link next to me. Thanks.